who are going to give us an up-close and personal view of what's going on the campus. Take it away, you guys.
Morning, and thank you for having us here. Is the sound coming through clear?
Yes, fine.
Excellent. Well, I would like to start with a question. Was Rosa Parks Black? In Florida, we may not be able to find out. And this is part of our report to you from the front of the battle against the people who are trying to take education, the right to learn, the right to have an educated populace, and actually democracy itself away from us. We're going to report from the front lines of New College, but it's broader than that. Rosa Parks represents an American hero. In Florida, because of DeSantis and the legislature, you can't have books that make white folks feel bad. And truly, the legislation says you can't teach that America is wrong. So to fit the law in Florida, publishers are trying to contort history around DeSantis. So here's what a first grade text used to say about Rosa Parks. In 1955, Rosa Parks broke the law. In her city, the law said African Americans had to give up their seats on the bus if a white person wanted to sit down. She would not give up her seat. The police came and took her away. The publishers, knowing what Florida wants, have expurgated this and sent it back. Florida has not yet adopted this, but this is an example of how the world has to contort around Florida. So now in your first grade textbook, you read that Rosa Parks showed courage. One day she rode the bus. She was told to move to a different seat. She did not. She did what she believed was right. We don't know any of the racial background. We don't know that the law required segregation and riding in the back of the bus. We don't know that she was arrested. We don't know that she's really been an American hero. That's just nuts, and it's wrong. And it's part of what's happening at New College, where professors are being chased away, students are being chased away. We're here, several of us from different parts of the New College community, to give you a sense of what's happening and why it should matter to people. It's a strange little college off in the Gulf Coast, bunch of weird kids. I was one. Why should anybody care? Juliana was one. So let us introduce the crew, and let's start. Liz, tell us who you are and why you care.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Liz Albietz. I'm a retired hospice clinical director, registered nurse, and I'm the proud mom of 4 daughters, 3 of whom graduated from New College. The 4th graduated from University of Florida. And I believe that the hostile takeover of New College is just a precursor to what is to come if we do not take a stand against the destruction of academic freedom and the freedom to learn. Thanks.
Excellent. And you hang out with a guy named Jens.
I do hang out with a guy named Jens.
Jens, tell us.
That is right. Good morning, everyone. I'm your resident alien. I'm a German citizen, and I'm a financial advisor. I have an MBA from Cologne University in Germany. And my father was a deserter from the Wehrmacht. He was very young at the time. My grandfather was a Nazi and an early NSDAP member. That's the Nazi party member. And I'm happily married to Liz and the father to the before mentioned 4 daughters. And I'm passionate about not allowing authoritarianism to repeat itself, particularly being a German and carrying this, what I perceive as a historical responsibility that I carry. And I have to tell you, every time I visit a Holocaust museum, and I try to visit everyone I can, I feel very uncomfortable. So maybe they should be closed too. I don't know. According to DeSantis, that is.
Exactly. Juliana.
Hi, everybody. I'm a New College alumna. I'm a faculty member at Hopkins at the School of Education. I'm here talking to you today because the events at New College led me to learn and understand that public education is facing an existential threat. My niece was a student at New College who felt forced out. She finished her second year there last year and left to attend Evergreen in Washington State. She's a budding botanist, and she now has no desire to ever return to Florida. I'm talking to you from the campus of St. Mary's, which is a public liberal arts college in Maryland. I'm here for an on-campus day for another niece of mine who's exploring this school as an opportunity. And I was let into the room that I'm in by Liz Leninger. And Liz is a faculty member who fled from New College and is now teaching here.
Thank you. Ken.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ken Barnes. I live in New Hampshire. I'm a retired civil rights lawyer. And in my retirement, I'm still spending more time doing volunteer work for social justice than the time I used to spend when I was getting paid to work for a living. And the folks here asked me to tell you why am I still in the game, still doing volunteer work for social justice. The reason I'm still in the game is the same reason why I went to law school. I was in a PhD program in economics, and I was appalled by poverty and inequality that I saw in the American economy and society. And I thought at the time that I could accomplish more to eliminate poverty and discrimination if I acquired the legal skills, legal education, so that I could fight these evils in court. So after 45 years practicing as a civil rights attorney, how do you think I did? You notice that there's no more hatred, no more hunger, no more homelessness in America now? Well, they don't mean to be facetious because obviously every little bit that one can accomplish is a good thing and helps, but boy, we sure have a lot of work ahead of us. So one of the things I'm doing in my retirement is working with a group called Elders for Social Justice. Tell you more about that later, but some of you might actually be interested in joining with us. We've got a campaign to confront authoritarianism and preserve our democracy. And as part of that campaign, I was a peacekeeper in New Hampshire. I live in New Hampshire, where we have the first in the nation primary. Ron DeSantis was speaking to an audience, and there were a bunch of protesters outside. So I was a peacekeeper to protect the protesters from the Trump demonstrators who were across the street. And I met a student from New College named Sam Scharf, and she had flown up to New Hampshire just to join the protest against DeSantis. That's how strongly she felt about what DeSantis was doing to her, her education, her college. So I called her afterwards and checked out, found out that there was a New College group fighting to save New College, and I started attending their meetings, and I've been working with these good folks ever since. So happy to be here, and thank you all.
Thanks, Ken. And Ken's an example of what works for us in terms of trying to fight this really evil, it seems to me. And that's the group of people associated with New College from a variety of ways. I went to New College in 1968 when it was still new. New College helped me learn how to learn. It was the farthest thing from indoctrination. It taught me to challenge every kind of orthodoxy. And in a career in journalism and teaching, it has stood me extremely well. Professionally, I do a lot of coaching for executives on giving presentations and being interviewed by the media. And so I've used that to help some of the New College faculty, staff, students, parents get their point across in news and comment to the Board of Trustees and Board of Governors in Florida. And I've heard so much pain. I've seen it in front of me from students, parents who are hurt by what's happening at New College. This isn't just policy. It isn't just theory. It is tremendous disruption of people's lives. And what is astonishing me is that people like the president of New College and Ron DeSantis do not give a good goddamn about the pain that they cause. In fact, I think they're pleased with causing the pain to the kind of people that they don't like, who are not white, straight, Christian, mostly male. So that's why I'm in the fight. It's giving me hope just to be in the fight, even though it's a difficult fight. As we go along, please raise your hands, ask questions. I want to give you a short point about why it is important for people to listen, why it's important for people to know about New College. And because it's just the beginning, the attack on education is going to harm every Floridian. 50% of all colleges in Florida are considering leaving because of attacks on tenure, attacks on the curriculum. So we're losing professors. We had a neuroscience professor who was signed up for New College after the putsch of DeSantis. That person decided not to come. We've lost hundreds of students. We're losing the best students and the best teachers from Florida. And like Juliana's niece, many of them are saying, I ain't coming back to Florida. That means businesses are not well educated for a bad thing, whereas companies know. So that's the last point, is just that this matters to everyone. It's going on in school boards. It's going on in colleges. It's going to hurt everyone's prospects for jobs, for a decent electorate that's well educated, and DeSantis doesn't care. Let me throw it to Ken to give a view of some of the other issues here.
Thanks, Bruce. And by the way, your audio came through much better when you turned off your video. So I'm here to tell you the broader picture. Bruce talked about the harmful effects on Florida, but our whole country really has arrived at a pivotal crossroads here. America's founding principle of self-government, a democratically elected government, of, by, and for the people, it's teetering on the brink. We're slouching toward authoritarianism. And truly, authoritarianism succeeds over history by shutting down critical thinking, prevents people from thinking freely about all issues, indoctrinates us with misinformation and propaganda. That's how authoritarianism stays in control, divides us into opposing groups. So really, democratic self-government as a whole in this country and others requires that people be actively engaged all the time in the political process, not just at election time, but all year round, including not just robust exchange of ideas like you all are doing here, but also getting involved in civic participation. We have a group in New Hampshire that is constantly going to the state legislature, have visibilities in front of the state legislature when they're hearing issues. We want buttonholing key legislators and telling them what we think and why, if they'll listen to us. All year round. And in particular, we're here to talk about education, and both at the college level, in New College and the rest of the Florida system, but also K-12 education. And unless education has to train young people to also think for themselves, to be informed voters. When they grow up, these kids in school who are getting the kind of education that Ron DeSantis and the rest of the MAGA folks are trying to shut down, these people are going to be voters of America. And we want them to be informed, to not just take the propaganda and the indoctrination of some group's ideology, but to actually know how to think and ask questions and look for the underlying evidence that might support possible arguments on one side of a policy issue or the other side. So education is crucial, and that's why we think it's really important that everybody get involved here now. We have to take power before, we have to act now before we lose the power to act, because once it's too late, the authoritarians will have won, and we will not have the ability, we will not have a democracy, we will not have the ability to stop them. So I'll turn it back to whoever is next, either Bruce or maybe Liz.
Excellent. No, I'm going to grab this and give you just a quick view of New College itself. And when I came to New College in 1968, there were only 100 students. It was still private. It was very unusual. It put the students in charge of their own education, to be responsible for designing their own education with close advice and guidance from excellent faculty. I had many one-on-one tutorials, two-on-one tutorials, independent study. We created classes. Again, I learned how to learn. The New College ethos really came to me at the 50th anniversary of the founding of the school. We now live north of Tampa, and in 2010, in Sarasota, the 50th anniversary was celebrated. There were many small classes. Some of the longtime faculty were there, including one of the people who founded the program, a philosophy professor named Douglas Berggren. And in one of the classes, when he was finished talking, one of the people in the audience asked Dr. Berggren a question. And Dr. Berggren smiled and said, "What do you think?" to the person asking the question. And they proceeded to have a discussion. New College doesn't give you an education, doesn't fill you up like a car at a gas station. They put education into you. New College draws the education out of you. It has always attracted weirdos like me, like Juliana. It has attracted people who are looking for something a little different. And it has lately been very LGBTQ plus friendly. It has always been sort of outcast friendly. So what happened? Let me give you a quick look at the takeover of New College, and then we're going to hear a little bit about how it connects. The college was founded in 1960. It became part of the system, the state university system, in 1975, because as a private school, it was hard to keep that tiny student faculty ratio. It was very expensive. And frankly, a lot of the alums were kind of hippies and didn't have a lot of money to give. So it became part of the state system. It became the Honors College of Florida in 2001. In 2021, the first female president, Patricia Oker, was named as president. And the college was beginning to recover from COVID and from severe underfunding under Patricia Oker. And it was the only college in the state system that had an increase in enrollment after COVID. And then DeSantis looked at it. Someone told him it was a ripe target. And in January, DeSantis appointed new trustees who came in and said, we want to fight this woke education. They named trustees, including Christopher Rufo, who is an architect of the anti-critical race theory movement nationally. It is scary what they're able to do. On the first meeting, well, to begin with, DeSantis lies about what New College teaches. And he said, it's all about woke and it's all about CRT, every class, all the time. Simply not true. That's a straw man propaganda technique. So on January 6th, he appoints new trustees. At their first meeting on January 31st, they fire the president. They fire the attorney who hasn't given them the answers that they like. And in violation of the state's sunshine laws, they have already chosen behind the scenes Richard Corcoran, a political hack, former speaker of the Republican Speaker of the House. At their second meeting, they kill the diversity, equity, and inclusion office and fire the trans woman of color who was the director. At the next meeting, they refuse early tenure to 5 qualified faculty. And with state legislation that reins in tenure and makes it almost useless, professors are now being told, you're not welcome here at New College. We don't want your kind. They begin heavily recruiting athletes, good Christian athletes from homeschooling, from Christian areas, from Christian colleges, and they promise those athletes laptops, scholarships, and they lie about the athletic program that will be in place, and they lie about an accreditation with a national organization of athletics. The president tells the recruiting staff, do whatever it takes to recruit students. I don't care if I have to hire tutors to follow them around. And the new class has lower SAT scores and lower grade point average because New College has lowered its standards to let these good Christian athletes in. Then they paint over student art on the walls that shows Eastern influence, that shows inclusiveness with no notice, and these are senior thesis pieces of art for students. They fire the head of the library, a lesbian. The staffing is so low that the library is not open on weekends now. Trustee Rufo files criminal charges against a student who spat at his feet during a demonstration. A trustee filing charges against a student after Rufo has been mocking students throughout his social media. Next, they kill off gender studies, and the full-time faculty in gender studies leaves. This is an unprecedented attack on the curriculum by a board of trustees. Third-year students, when they show up now in September, are bounced out of their preferred dorm rooms because the athletes are given the best dorm rooms. The students are hustled off to hotels. What kind of a college experience is that, to live in a hotel? Many classes are canceled. Many classes are canceled because there aren't enough faculty. A third of the faculty has now left. Corcoran lies to parents when they say, these classes aren't available for my student. And Corcoran says, no, that's not true. And the class schedule shows they've been canceled. Why he lies to parents? Apparently, that's just what he does. The retention rate has now plummeted, and the dropout rate is climbing. And despite all of this, the Board of Trustees has given has given Corcoran the full-time job at New College as president. Liz, what does this feel like to you?
Well, as I said, I have 3 daughters that graduated from New College, and we've been involved with New College since 2009 when our oldest daughter first started there. And we had the pleasure of attending many events over the years there. We went to music events. We were often on campus. We live close to campus, so people would come for dinner. So, and I was in awe of the smart, thoughtful, socially conscious young adults that we were engaging with. I thought to myself, the future is in good hands. These young people are really going to take care of the world. And I never felt the need to go to a board meeting at New College at that point because I felt it was a safe place. It was peaceful. And then, but that all changed after the takeover, the January takeover of New College. And it was a hostile takeover. And we joined a resistance group of parents of New College students. We started attending board meetings. I have spoken at and attended every single board meeting since January, except for one. And I'll tell you why. I attend these board meetings despite being frisked and wanded and having my bag searched by right-wing goons in flak jackets, carrying guns, trying to intimidate us. I speak despite the fact that the board and the president have just a total disdain and disgust for what we're saying, and they only endure it because they have to, because it's part of the overall curriculum schedule for the meeting. They have to have public comment. They roll their eyes. They look at their phones. I've even seen some napping during public comment, but I still go, I still speak. It becomes part of the public record. I know I can't influence anything they think or anything they do, but I'm going to talk about how I feel and what's going on. And I also speak because I want to get the word out. I feel it's very important that we keep this in the news and we get this out as far and as wide as we can, because this isn't going to stop with New College. This is just the beginning. I went to a Tiger Bay Club meeting where Richard Corcoran, the new president, was speaking on the subject of the new college. And among other things, he spoke of kindness. He said, why can't we all just be kind? Only for the next day for him to say to his newly fired New College communications director, I am not interested in unity on campus. I need someone to attack the media just like DeSantis does. And Bruce spoke of the plummeting retention rate. More than 27% of first-year students are not returning. And as Bruce said, around 40% of faculty have left. Having been ostracized, they didn't leave because they wanted to, they left because they had to, resulting in canceled classes. And the GPA has gone down, the new students got laptops and scholarships, and the returning students didn't get any of that. They were put in hotels and they were not offered the scholarships. So I'm really angry on so many levels about what's going on at New College. And as I said, it's not going to stop with New College. If we are stunned and shocked and we don't take action, they win. And I'm also heartbroken, but more angry than heartbroken for my daughters, whose beloved alma mater is being destroyed before their eyes. Two of them are so upset they don't even want to talk about it. They want the New College to change its name so that they are not associated with New College, because they have such regard and respect and love for what New College was and how it changed their lives and what it did for them. So I am going to keep talking, and I'm going to keep going to board meetings, and I am going to keep getting the word out as much as I can, because if we don't take action now, I'm afraid that we're going to miss the window for taking action. And I am going to keep fighting against authoritarianism, and I'm going to keep fighting for the freedom to learn. Thank you.
Juliana, can you give us a quick minute of how this fits nationwide?
What I want to say about how it fits nationwide addresses issues of the mechanisms that they're using. Florida has a set of legislative priorities and now laws that are affecting K-12 and university education. It includes insertion of legislators between students and teacher and K-12, between students and faculty at higher education. That legislation doesn't come from a vacuum. You may have heard of an organization called the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. ALEC has incredible spread and depth across the United States, and they've been building to what they do for more than 30 years. ALEC has produced a system that allows them to recruit and support far-right Republican legislators at the state and national level, and it provides model legislation for those legislators to put forward. ALEC is, unfortunately, not alone. In addition to ALEC doing that at a legislative space, you can look up information on the Family Policy Alliance and the Leadership Institute, which is doing what ALEC is doing, but at the school board level now. Recruiting and training far-right individuals who might not have been far-right at the time, but their Family Policy Alliance information specifically talks about supporting them to be strong in their biblical worldview so that they can influence public school in that way, and they provide them with policies. And they are not alone. Turning Point USA is another organization that is working in this same model, and their target is college student government and high school government. New College Turning Point USA, I should say, ran a student candidate at New College this past term for student government. So from state government, national government, school boards, and even at the level of K-12 and college, you're seeing this same mechanism of funneling people in and providing them with policies. I will turn it back over to you, Bruce.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Can we indulge you? We started a little bit late. I want to hear from Jens about how this fits with the history in Germany, and then we'll open up for questions. Jens, and if you can keep it short, I apologize.
Thanks, Ken. Yes, I want to look at what does it really mean to lose academic freedom, and with it, the freedom to learn, and why is it so important to act now? And it won't come as a surprise that I'm taking a particularly German perspective. And it so happens that Humboldt University in Berlin provides the ideal object lesson. Humboldt University in Berlin was the place where academic freedom was invented and instituted in 1810. And it made it the most successful university within a few decades in the world. And just to illustrate that fact, by the time the Nazis took over that university in 1933, it had won 26 Nobel Prizes, mostly in natural sciences. And as a frame of reference, Harvard in the same period, which Harvard was 200 years older, way more established, won 1 Nobel Prize. So Humboldt was crawling with Nobel laureates, which did not stop the Nazis from taking it over. And the first thing they did, they fired the president and replaced him with a Nazi. In their defense, he at least had a PhD. At New College, we don't even have that. And then they banned books and burned them for special effects, and which prompted Heinrich Heine, one of the writers whose books were being burned, to coin the phrase, that was but a prelude. Where they burn books, they ultimately burn people, which at the time people thought was a little exaggerated. They proceeded to oust about 250 Jewish professors, about 1/3 of the entire staff of the university, and the remaining staff was aghast, and faculty, and they said, surely you're not going to fire Albert Einstein. And the Nazis said, watch us. And Albert Einstein barely escaped arrest by the Nazis and ended up on these shores here. And so academic freedom was completely abolished, which had been so successful, and replaced with complete political control. And as one result, no further Nobel Prizes. And just for reference, the entire German university system fell victim to the Nazi takeover at that point. And the American Association of University Professors did something very smart in response in 1940. It introduced the concept of academic freedom and tenure for professors in order to protect them from political overreach. And that, in my mind, and recent research confirms that, is probably the most important factor in America's success post-World War II. Because guess where those 250 Jewish fired professors landed? They landed in the US. And guess which country attracts the best professors and scientists from the entire world? It's the US, because professors seem to like the academic freedom concept and tenureship. And that in turn attracts the best students, many of which then stay in the country and further, as a result, the American economy. None of that stops the right-wing people to destroy it, same as the Nazis did in Germany. And just to illustrate how quickly the time window closed in Germany for taking action, Hitler came or took over complete power in January 30th, 1933. And a mere 6 weeks later, he passed an emergency decree which ended all constitutional rights. It ended the freedom of association, the freedom of assembly, and the freedom of opinion. So you weren't allowed to think anymore in Germany. And a few weeks later, in March, he passed the Enabling Act, which put Germany under martial law 6 years before the war started. And in that same time period, the remaining German professors were all invited to swear an oath of allegiance to the big leader, Hitler. So that was the replacement.
I'm going to ask you to wrap this up, and
Okay.
so we can get some questions.
And so 6 months later, the Night of the Long Knives happened, in which were 700 to 1,000 people murdered that were critical of the regime. So the window closed within 6 months without the general Germans taking any notice. And by the time they did take notice, it was too late. So we don't know. Is it too early to speak up now? I don't think so. Thanks.
Excellent. Let's take some questions, and we want to go back at the end and have Ken Barnes tell you about a local organization, the Florida version of what he's doing nationally, which can give us a chance of doing something about this. So let us be quiet and see what questions y'all have.
All right, I guess I'll go first. Obviously, a very, very important issue locally, New College, nationally. What can we in the Democratic Club do to help you with the New College situation?
What a lovely question, Juliana.
So in terms of the New College in particular, and use these strategies for other spaces as well, practice in groups, writing op-eds and putting them out. There's a lot of resources available for how to do an op-ed. Reach out to any of us and we can connect you in with some New College community folks to be aware of that. What I think is important, though, is that New College is, as an institute of higher education, harder for you to influence than in your own K-12 setting. You guys have an education committee that's strong, and that is a space for you to build on in order to make connections and support the local community, because school boards are a place where there is an opportunity to have more direct impact through your own vote, through your presence at school boards. Ken can speak to how he helps his community get trained in that space if you reach out to him afterwards, or maybe a little bit here.
Yeah, Ken, give us a quick view of that, your elders group in Florida.
You're muted.
I'm muted. I forgot I muted myself when others were speaking. Yeah, there's a larger group called Elders Action Network, and it has various teams doing climate work, democracy work, social justice work, regenerative living, things like that. And my group is Elders for Social Justice, and we have a campaign, as I alluded to earlier, confronting authoritarianism. And we are, we've obviously noticed what I said to you earlier, that we're slouching towards authoritarianism in this country, and we need to stop it or we won't have a democracy anymore. And so we are taking actions, including things like Juliana talked about, of writing letters to the editor and contacting our members of Congress and things. But we also have, at Juliana's suggestion, gotten very involved in local public schools and going to our individual school districts and learning about them. We can attend school board meetings and learn about what they're doing and seeing them. You can also do research on the internet about what they're doing, but being there and immersing yourself in it, or watching it live stream, you really get a sense for who's saying what, including protest groups and parents groups and things like that. And
can they join your group? Can they join your group? And then we have another question.
Yes, they can join our group, and I will put in the chat a memo about what people can do on the school districts, local school district issues. Also, a background memo of the whole thing that our Confronting Authoritarianism campaign has worked on, and also the passcode for our meetings on the second Thursday at noon Eastern time. And that's in the chat now, hopefully.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you.
And I'll put my my contact information in case anybody wants to ask me questions or get involved, or make suggestions on other things we can do, which we would appreciate too.
Kathy Hoover has a question. Kathy, you'll need to unmute yourself.
Okay, hi everybody. I posed this question in the chat, and Bruce answered it, but I just wanted to pose it again in terms of investigative journalism. If anybody has, if any of the media has ever tried to start an investigation, given this, election cycle, and politicians are so ripe for this kind of a thing. So I was wondering about that.
There have indeed been a lot of stories about this. MSNBC has come down, the New York Times. It's difficult. We've seen over the last 12 years or more how awful things are done in the bright light of day, and there's enough people who support it that media exposure doesn't stop it. And to me, and my background is journalism, we have to keep trying to highlight what's wrong, but it takes a long time to pick it up. Those of you in Florida know that DeSantis was just exposed for lying about his COVID numbers in a lawsuit, and he's had to pay $152,000 of our tax money for to pay for the lawsuit because he fudged the numbers. But this is 3 years after he did it, and he's already got his reputation as a great COVID warrior. The truth takes a long time to catch up. So we want to have continual media. The most compelling is the students telling their stories. And that's a general principle that if you're looking for media coverage, offer to the media those who are affected most. And that's why the stories of the students and the stories of the parents are so heartbreaking. That's what other people, I think, identify with. Another question, please.
Mike Conafer, you're up.
Hi. I understand there's various lawsuits ongoing against the current administration. Could you give us an update on the status of those lawsuits?
Juliana, are you the best for that one?
Yes, I think what I would suggest, I'm going to be putting together and sending to Diane for emailing out a list of resource spaces. NCF Freedom, which is a alum-created group in response to the takeover, has put a lawsuit out that is against the state of Florida in regards to freedom of speech. They specifically are developing lawsuits that they think have the potential for standing to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and if not address issues of concern in the way we want, at least be demonstration opportunities for fighting that good fight. So as you could imagine, if that's the target, it's going to go slowly and carefully. So that's the update that I would provide now, but we can also share information so you can see other things that are going on. Once I move, you can see other things that are going on in this room that is environmentally sensitive.
Excellent, thank you.
All right, I think we'll do one more question, and then I think we need to unfortunately wrap it up because we are running long on time. Sheila, you get the last question.
Great. Listen, what other colleges and educational institutions are being attacked like this in Florida?
Well, I'm actually going to tell you, not Florida. So you know about New College. North Carolina was one of the places where this happened first. So about 2 years ago, the North Carolina Republican legislature started taking actions. And at this point in time, they have cut the Democratic governor completely out of the process of naming any board of trustee member to anything from community college up. So there is a concerted effort in many different states to do that, again, through ALEC and this issue of the model legislation. Inside of Florida, we have challenges at Florida Atlantic University for sure. There are if you look at University of Florida, where Ben Sasse was put in as the president, through a process that the entire faculty voted a vote of no confidence about the process through which this outside Nebraska senator was put in to the presidential position. Big problems. Ben Sasse laid out his plan in a recent New York Times article, and it's draconian. And it is, out and about. They're not being coy about what they are intending to do. I'll say, like, when I walk around the world, I now feel like I'm doing it inside of this strange shadow space. Out and about, it seems like everything's going on like normal. But behind the scenes, I know that there's a professor watch list. I know that there are teachers who are being fired in Georgia for having read a storybook to a third grade classroom. I know that there's a teacher in Orlando who gets a call and letter from the State Department of Education the day after she shows a Disney movie to her class, even though she got permission from all the parents to show Disney movies of a particular, GPG, but this particular Disney movie, animated, had a gay character. It wasn't a gay storyline, just a character who happens to be gay. So things seem like they're normal when you go to the grocery store, but they're not normal. They're very, very far from that.
Thank you.
And we'll just say thank you all for your interest. Contact any of us. And I've learned that action provides hope. And it's tough, but let's keep at it. Thank you all.